What's up, YouTube world? This is Steven again, and it's currently 11:03 p.m. on November 6th of 2023, and I would like to welcome you all to my 8th book review, End of Watch by Stephen King. If you don't want any spoilers, leave now. If you're still here, well, that's your fault. So, End of Watch is the third and final of the Bill Hodges trilogy. It all starts with two, EMTs or whatever, driving an ambulance, and they get a call about a mass murder at City Center, where they go there and they ask around and see what's going on, and they try to save the lives of the ones who are still alive, I guess. And they find out that a Mercedes car that's driving like really fast past them, and they don't know that is the car that ends up doing that or causing it. And then it all of a sudden fast forward to where Bill Hodges is, and he's waiting in a doctor's office because he has a really bad pain going on in his left side, and he doesn't know what it is. He thinks it's maybe an ulcer, but then he leaves because he gets a call from, I think, his former partner, Pete Huntley, when he was a detective. And so he leaves the office without canceling, and then he decides to go see what Pete and his new partner Izzy want, and they he finds out that there have been two suicides, and that there were these things called zappets at the house where the suicides occurred. And then he goes back to, I think, Finders Keepers, which is where he works, and he tells Holly about them, which Holly is now his work partner at Finders Keepers. And it's really cool how that happens. But then he gets a message on his phone saying that there is another scheduled appointment for him with the doctors at a certain time on a certain day, and to please keep this one. And then this is where you figure out that Brady Hartsfield is in some kind of, mental ward or whatever. And little does Hodges know that Brady Hartsfield is actually moving things with his mind, like turning the sink on and off, and moving the blinds and shutters, and flushing the toilet on its own, and turning the TV on its own, and moving his blanket with his mind and stuff like that. And it just makes him think like, wow, I didn't even know any of this was going on. So fast forward to where he is at the doctor's office now, and he sees the doctor. He gets taken in right away, like as soon as he gets there, and the doctor tells him that it's actually not an ulcer. It's in fact pancreatic cancer, and it's in a late stage. When I hear late stage, I think stage 3 or stage 4. And if it's stage 4 pancreatic cancer, that's one of those, I hate to be morbid about this, but that's one of those nice knowing you kind of cancers. And so he figures it out. He goes back to Holly and Finders Keepers, and he pretty much tells her that's an ulcer, so he lies to her basically. And so when he's out doing something, I forget what he's doing, she snoops through his email and his computer, and she finds a document saying like that about the appointment, how it was pancreatic cancer, and she's very upset with that. And then they're getting all these other calls about suicides and stuff like that occurring with these gaming consoles called zappets. And the way it's controlled is Brady Hartsfield goes through the zappet and finds someone using a certain zappet and tries to get them to commit suicide because, as Bill Hodges says in the book, Brady Hartsfield is the suicide prince or suicide king or something like that. And what happens is one of the people that he tries to commit suicide is Jerome Robinson's sister Barbara. And she is walking on MLK Avenue or something and skipping school, something like that. And she is looking at the zappet, and Brady is talking to her, like saying how she's blackish and stuff like that. How like she doesn't live in a black neighborhood. She's very affluent, but she just has black skin. So he calls her blackish, and that like she's better off killing herself and stuff like that, getting in her head basically. And So she tries to walk out in the middle of the road, and this guy pulls her back and takes her zap, and it's just kind of toying with her. But then she gives him a kick to the shin, grabs the Zappet back, walks out into the middle of the road, and is almost run over by this, I guess, 16 or 18 wheeler until that guy pushes her out of the way. So Barbara, instead of getting killed, only suffers a broken leg and nothing more, and Brady is really upset with that. Later on in the book, he ends up, I think, getting either 13 or 14 people to commit suicide, and from here on, the rest of the book was kind of a blur to me until around page 375, close to the end, when they find him at a place called Heads and Skins. They being Holly and Bill, because they don't let Jerome go on that mission with them because it could be a fatal mission. So they end up getting this information at a gas station, and then they go to Heads and Skins with the headlights turned off on the I guess four-wheel drive vehicle that they get from this dealership because it's a really snowy night, and they go in to try to get Hartsfield, and Brady Hartsfield ends up bashing Holly over the head with something, I forget what, but then he gets Bill to turn on one of the Zappets. He's trying to get Bill to commit suicide, and so Brady's controlling his own Zappet that is going into Bill's Zappet to get into his mind, and the cool thing is, by the way, the Zappets were given out by a guy named Zakim, and there's also a person called Library Al in the book, and Brady takes over him as well. He's kind of like the librarian of the hospital or something. And there's also a guy named Dr. Z, also known as Dr. Babineau, and he is in Dr. Babineau's body right now when he's at Heads and Skins, and he tries to get Hodges to commit suicide. And what he does is his cell phone rings, and like that's a home run kind of like vibrating, like I guess ringtone, and it snaps him out of his state that he's in. So he throws the Zappet, I think, into the fireplace, and Brady Hartsfield gets pissed with that, and then he holds him at gunpoint. And then after that, Holly ends up shooting Jerome when Brady Hartsfield points the gun at Bill, or Dr. Babineau, I should say, and he tells Holly to shoot him again, but Hodges is in the way. Brady escapes for the time being, and what happens is a person on a snowmobile makes a jump and lands right on top of Dr. Babineau, aka Brady Hartsfield. And at this time, the body of Brady Hartsfield is actually dead, but his mind takes over Dr. Babineau's mind, and he tears up his entire midsection, and then Holly and Bill go out and pretty much end Dr. Babineau, because Holly holds the Bill Hodges has not Bill Hodges. Brady Hartsfield has the gun to his head, but he can't pull the trigger. So either Bill or Holly does it for him, and that's how Dr. Babineau, aka Brady Hartsfield, ends. And then they get to a birthday party a few days later for Bill, and his former partner Pete is there, and so is Holly and Jerome and Barbara. And he gets some balloons given to his daughter from his daughter Allison, who lives in California, I think. And 8 months later, Bill Hodges ends up getting killed by his pancreatic cancer. He loses his battle with his pancreatic cancer. And Holly is there planting chrysanthemums, and Jerome is there with her. Then they decide to go to the movies, something that will make them laugh and laugh, as Holly says. And then they walk away from Bill, aka Kermit William Hodges' grave, and that's where the book ends. And that is Finders Keepers. That is End of Watch in a nutshell. So what all did I think about End of Watch? I liked the first 1 to 200 to 250 pages, but by page 200 or 250, I started to lose interest. I really hate to say it, but I really started to lose interest, and I borderline had to force myself to finish this book. until it got to about page 370 or 375, and things really started to get interesting again. That was when Holly and Bill were going after Brady Hartsfield, who was at Heads and Skins. So that was really cool. I really enjoyed that. That was very interesting. That was very thrilling, especially towards the end. But for about 125 to 150 pages, I really started to lose interest. Around half to 2/3 of the way through the book, I really started to lose interest because I was getting so confused to where Brady was jumping through his mind and into Dr. Babineau's and then to Library Al's, trying to get many others to commit suicide and stuff like that. Just random people that you see in the book. 3 different random people that I found. And I really started to lose interest, and it was really confusing me whose mind he was taking over. And not only that, but I found it kind of unbelievable for someone. I know this is fiction, but I still kind of find it a little unbelievable for someone's head to get bashed in, and all of a sudden they develop telekinesis in order for people to commit suicide. I just find that very hard to believe. But other than that, the book was okay. It was definitely my least favorite of the Bill Hodges trilogy. Definitely my least favorite. And I think the best order to read these, I know Mr. Mercedes was 1, Finders Keepers was 2, and End of Watch was 3, but I think the best order to read these is Finders Keepers first, then Mr. Mercedes, then End of Watch. I think that's the best order to read them in because that's the order I read them in, and I thought that was a really great order to do. But End of Watch was definitely my least favorite, with Finders Keepers being my favorite. Finders Keepers will have gotten a 5. I believe I gave Mr. Mercedes a 4.5 if I'm not mistaken. But on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being the highest, End of Watch by Stephen King will be getting a 3 from me. Definitely my least favorite of the Bill Hodges trilogy. Just really lost interest in like I said, borderline had to force myself to finish this book. But other than that, still not a great book, but an okay book. Great ending though. Loved the ending. But I gotta find another book to read and do a review to. But that is my book review for this one. End of Watch by Stephen King. If you liked what you saw in this video, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and comment below. And I'll see you guys next time with another video. This is Steven signing out.